Welcome to video 6 of a series of 6. This video will be focused on pushing for change in an androcentric world, careful consideration of societies, tools to use, and examples of gendered resistance. In order to make change in the world as we know it, there are a couple of key steps: recognition and redistribution. It is important to recognize all people and make identities valid. This means recognizing people due to and regardless of their race, their class, their gender orientation, their sexuality, their education level, and any other identifiers you can think of. Redistribution means making a common space, making a diverse space where everyone can interact and share ideas and try to make the world a better place. It's important to be careful and respectful when redistributing and recognizing members of society. As Chandra Mohanty models the feminist as tourist example, which means viewing the world from a Western gaze. So many Americans want to go on mission trips and donate to other countries where they think things are wrong, but in reality, that country sees nothing wrong with itself. So we need to employ a different look. We need to study the ways and culture of the other country before we can make any decisions based on whether they are right or wrong, or whatever they are. The feminist as explorer model maps the way of studying gender in other countries through delving almost too deeply into their culture and society to where it gets too multifaceted to actually make anything happen. It's important to find a balance between these two models to successfully start change. It's also important to remember that there is no single answer for every single country. Things can be displayed globally, but it needs to be broken down individually by each country, have local laws and meetings and implementation of new ideas based on the culture and identity of the people they will be for. So some tools we can use to spread new ideas are namely social media, which is extremely important now. We can use Occupy movements, and we can use protests. But it's really important to remember that people, especially in the global south, do not have as many tools as those in the global north. They may have limited internet access or none at all. They may be closed off from other societies as they're forced to stay home. So it's just really important to think about those who aren't as privileged as we are in the global north. Some examples of domestic gendered resistance would be the women's suffrage movement, when women wanted to have the right to vote. They protested, they held up signs, they chanted in the streets. Another newer aspect of domestic resistance would be the slut walk from Amber Rose, where women go out into the streets and wear whatever they want and reclaim the narrative of all of these names that they've been called over the years. From a global aspect, on social media, there is a hashtag called Yes All Women, where women shared stories of violence, of rape, of any misogyny they have ever experienced, and that can be done by anyone who is on a social media site. So what can we do? We can take collective inquiry. It's important to really understand what you're trying to analyze from different perspectives, like the Chandramukhi models, but don't get too carried away in defining identities. Another thing we can do is deconstruct the power of gender. We can quell stereotypes. We can become more worldly. We need to recognize and redistribute power by validating identities and including more people and diversity. We can add women and valorize the feminine. And we need to ask questions and never settle for less than what we deserve.